And welcome back to This Week of the Mohawk Valley. It is time now for the Central New York Travel Show portion of today's program. And we welcome back Kelly Blazosky from Oneida County Tourism. Hey, Kelly, how are you?
I'm great, Jim. How are you? Glad to be back.
And, of course, this is the first show for the month of November. Hard to believe.
Know.
And coming up on November 12th, a new exhibit opening at the Fort Stanwix National Monument in Rome. We're going to talk all about that today.
Absolutely, we are. We have Kelly Roman here from Fort Stanwix National Monument. Good morning, Kelly.
Hello, Kelly.
Yeah, so this has been a very significant year for the fort and for all of our national parks.
Indeed.
Yeah, and you have a new event exhibition opening called From Memory to Monument. So tell our listeners a little bit about that.
Well, as you said, this was a significant year for the National Park Service as a whole. It was our 100th centennial anniversary. Well, not 100th centennial, but our centennial anniversary.
Right.
And in honor of that and the fact that it's also the 40th anniversary of the park opening to the public, we've partnered with the Rome Historical Society in order to open up a special exhibit about the creation of the park. A lot of people know that the park was created, in law and theory in 1935, but nothing really came of it until the 1960s when there was more time and money to spend on the idea. And the city of Rome led a monumental effort in order, literally
Yes.
monumental effort
Right.
in order to make it a tangible thing that people could come and visit and to honor the memory of the soldiers that were theoretically already memorialized by the law that created the park. So between the Rome Historical Society and the fort, you'll be able to come and see the story of how Rome created the park as we know it today. You'll be able to see a little bit about Rome during the urban renewal process and the thoughts that were going on along with that, both good and bad. You'll be able to see a little bit and contribute a little bit about what you'd like to see in the future at the park. So it runs the gamut, and it's in two parts. It will be at the Rome Historical Society and at the fort.
Yeah, so on November 12th, you'll be kicking everything off at the Park Visitors Center at 2 o'clock.
Yes. Okay. So there'll be a special unveiling ceremony there. We're also going to pay tribute to some of our volunteers who have contributed more throughout this year, since it is a banner year for us, and some of our park partners. And as soon as people have kind of gotten immersed in the one at the visitor center of the park, we'll be heading over to the Rome Historical Society, where they'll be unveiling their exhibit half, and there'll be a reception for both of them.
Around 4 o'clock, the reception will start.
Yep.
So, yeah, so this is a great partnership between the two, because it is, even in what we do at Oneida County Tourism, when we're promoting the park to, just consumers, at consumer trade shows, to the travel trade industry, all of that, and you get into the story to tell them about how Rome really moved its downtown, found the original footings and rebuilt this from the original plans. People are stunned, because they're so used to a national park being, just what was there, and that's all you get to see, or a preserved fort or something.
We have people who drive around the fort in circles, and they don't believe that that could be the monument because they're used to giant stone obelisks.
Right.
A park is either what was already there preserved, or it's
left of it.
or it's an obelisk in tribute. So there's a lot of folks who are confused by it, but love the fact that it's there. I mean, we get thousands of visitors from across the country and the world every single year, and they all love this area and the fact that we were willing to do that for our history. And as I said, some of those ideas will be explored in the exhibit itself, because it was a mixed emotional. There's a lot of mixed emotions surrounding the creation of the park as we know it today, because of some of the other things that were happening concurrently in the city. So I'm a local, and I can run the gamut of memories and opinions just in my family alone, based off of which generation you're part of. It's really interesting. But hopefully we can all come to a consensus on what should happen around here in the future as this pans out.
And you'll also go into some of the details about the archaeological process.
That was super cool. There was stuff I didn't even know, like that initial archaeological excavations were actually conducted by the city in the early 1960s, and the ones that many people are familiar with, where they got to come out for their school field trip, those didn't happen until the 70s. So I didn't even know that there were another set of archaeological excavations until we started putting in time for this.
And then the whole reconstruction process itself, I mean, you know, getting the plans from
a British
London,
War
England,
Museum,
and, right, and you know, getting those so that, you know, it could be rebuilt to exact measures.
Exactly. So the fort that you see today, despite local legend, is exactly where the original fort was located, within inches, and with the original plans, as you were saying. And something cool that we'll be doing throughout the lifespan of the exhibit is we'll be showing filmings of Made in America, which was a film made in the 1970s, aired on PBS by the National Park Service, about how the fort came about, and it interviews some of the construction workers, many of which people in the area know the families of people who worked on the fort. So it might be interesting to see your former family members, your ancestors. It goes into what Rome was hoping to have done larger scale, the other components of what we call urban renewal in downtown Rome. So there's going to be a lot of cool things happening, not just with the exhibit, but a lot of community engagement programs as well.
If we could just go way back for a moment. For folks who are not familiar, talk a little about, you don't have to go into complete detail, we'll probably be here for an hour, but a little bit about the history of Fort Stanwix.
All right. I got this. I'm a park ranger. American history in 10 minutes or less.
Okay.
So the fort was built originally to replace several smaller forts that were protecting what we call the Oneida Carrying Way. So all of us are familiar with the Mohawk River because we live in the Mohawk Valley. Well, if you want to continue west, you're going to head through the Oneida Lake area and then onto Oswego River and then into Lake Ontario. So that little patch of land was your toll booth. That's where you had to get out of the water to move from east to west. Built during the French and Indian War, as I said, to replace several smaller forts, 1758. Rebuilt during the American Revolutionary War to protect the border of the country, the new nation that was forming out of the kind of fallout from the French and Indian War, withstood a 3-week British siege, the only American fort to never surrender to the British during the course of the American Revolutionary War. In 1777, it withstood that siege. That's one of the reasons we created a monument, which led to the larger victory at Saratoga. The land was eventually cleared, well, not cleared, but built over by what became the city of Rome, and the Erie Canal was placed in that location, or place the pathway that the fort was originally built to protect. 1930s roll around, it's declared a national monument, it becomes the first historic national park in the country. There's other historic sites, not national park sites though, and allows all of those other ones we can think of to be grandfathered into the system, and then finally open to the public in the 1970s, and that's what we're celebrating this year.
Awesome.
During this exhibit.
Little history lesson for everyone listening.
Wow, you get the award.
10 minutes or less if I can't do my job.
Absolutely, for that history lesson. That's awesome. Another effort that has been underway is a new Friends organization that all of us can support, and and a way to support the fort, and it's with the Rome Historical Society.
Yes, so the Rome Historical Society has officially become the Friends of Fort Stanwix group as well. And for folks who aren't familiar, a Friends group allows for fundraising where national parks can't. We can't do advertising. We can't buy a radio spot. They can, to let people know what's going on at your national park. I mean, it's everybody's national park. So it's in kind of a natural partnership that's developed over the past couple of decades, learning more about the construction of the fort. We realized that one of the groups that was involved with the original archaeological excavations that I mentioned, the Fort Stanwix Museum, actually became the Rome Historical Society. And that history was even kind of cloudy to the Rome Historical Society folks because of all the paperwork it was buried under. So that was one of the initial things between us. They've been, their building that is in Rome, New York, we have our administrative offices there. I mean, they talk about the history history of the surrounding area that we don't talk about, but is still related to the fort or the grounds of the fort.
Right.
So it was kind of a natural development and just the right move, I think.
Absolutely. So if anyone is interested in supporting the fort in that way,
contact the Rome Historical Society.
And November 12th is a day to really come and learn about it and get involved. So, and it all kicks off on November 12th. It's from memory to monument for Fort Stanwix National Monument, really the building of.
Yes.
And it kicks off at 2 o'clock on Saturday, November 12th, and then proceeds on over to, it's just a short walk to the Rome Historical Society.
Literally a block and a half.
Yeah.
You can make it.
Right next door.
Yes.
And then it continues there, and then general reception at 4 p.m. So sounds like a wonderful afternoon.
It should be fun.
Absolutely. A great learning opportunity and a great way to get involved with your community.
Yep.
So, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Kelly.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you, Kelly.
for more information on more activities you have going on at the fort, you can go to your website.
You can go to the National Park Service website, nps.gov, and look for Fort Stanwix. You can go to our Facebook page. We're there too. And all of our events are listed on both locations, or you can call the fort at 315-338-7730 and just ask what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And we link to all of that as well.
And all events at the fort are free of charge.
Yes,
all of them.
Everything is
no
free
lie. Your tax dollars at work.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.